All right, underground news, March 21st, 2019. The last episode I didn't cover Brexit well enough. I kind of stumbled through it. I was unclear of what I wanted to say. And I kind of ranted towards the end. So, at the end of this episode, or, well, halfway through, which is going to lead into the end of the episode, I'm going to go back over Brexit and I'm going to clear everything up that I can clear up. For starters, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shake the Trumpanzees off my live stream because I don't want y'all here. Unless you have an open mind and an open ear. Because I don't know if people remember, but Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, was busted in a prostitution ring in Florida with close vicinity to the Mar-a-Lago resort golf course that Donald Trump owns. Now there were there were billionaires all going to the same foot massage parlor. And this bust happened February 28th, I believe it was, and that was just after the Super Bowl. I can't remember. I don't watch football. The only time I watch sports is when I'm at the gym, in between sets, and it's the only time I watch sports. I like sports. I just can't be caught up in what is called the bread and circus, what they referred to in Roman times, which was the gladiator games and all the distractions. While Rome was falling, they gave them the games to keep the people, to placate the people. Now, it's not just Robert Kraft. And right here, Trump wants Patriots owner Robert Kraft at the White House, despite, and also probably because of, the prostitution bust. Yeah, Donald Trump is a serial solicitor. Or in other words, he's a trick. Now, the prominent owner of this spa, Li Yang, okay? You can go around, you type in Li Yang, and you can find her with Donald Trump. Now, some of these photos might be doctored, but not all of them. They didn't doctor all of them. With plenty of GOP advisors and campaign managers, and you can just it's everywhere. She goes to all their events. She's a massage. She's a parlor. She owns a massage parlor. Okay? That's it. So why is she at all these events? And this is just a simple Google search. If you dig deeper on this next place that I'm going to, for example, Reddit is, if you have your own filter, Reddit is an awesome place to get information because anybody can post. So, well, relatively anybody can post, and it's relatively freedom of speech, and you have to make up your own mind. There's plenty of photoshopped stuff that people throw in there for kicks and for likes and for jokes. Make it up. Decide for yourself. Now, here's the picture of the owner, Li Yang, and this dunce. And yes, this is the conspiracy subforum. However, and we'll open up this picture as well. And here you go. This is what people do. And they make it so clear for you. Dan Bongino and Republican Matt Gaetz and like I said, not all of, maybe one of these pictures is doctored. This one's not doctored. It's ridiculous. Anyways, here are some allegations, which if you read into Trump's character enough, these allegations are not unbelievable at all, which is Epstein's sex workers. Is it Jeffrey Epstein? Owns the Lolita Express and the famous island where all the celebrities and the politicians go to have orgies, and they have sex workers and underage girls and boys. And the legend has it that Trump got on the plane, went all the way to the Epstein Island, got there, and he turned around. Yeah, right. He saw a mountain of coke and a 12-year-old girl, and he went crazy with his small hands. Anyways, at least one of Epstein's sex workers was recruited from Mar-a-Lago. Okay, Epstein's sex workers. He took one of the workers, Virginia Roberts, at his island a sex worker that work on his island, he got from the Mar-a-Lago resort. We have court documents with a woman claiming that Trump raped her when she was 13. The girl who claimed that Epstein and Trump raped her when she was 12. And there's more evidence, and you can do the research yourself. Which brings me to the next thing that was brought to my attention a couple days ago by a guy by the name of, he does a live stream just like this. He's in Seattle right now. He's covering something real important which relates to the Grand Solar Minimum. It's called the Cascadian Subduction Zone. Cascadia Subduction Zone. He's doing all types of stuff with homeless people vanishing, and in his area, this is Marfugel. This is him. Let's see if we get a picture of him. Yep, that's him, the Marf. There was a prostitution bust earlier this month in Seattle, and they grabbed something like 11 massage parlors. Here we go again, massage parlors with 26 women were freed from a prostitution ring where they were forced to work. See, what happened was they were in Asia, somewhere in China, not just China. We assume it's China because we know of the rampant political corruption, and so they get in contact with people who bring them over to the United States, whether illegally or through work visas, and they are forced into massage parlor prostitution rings. And I'm guessing that, in China they might only make $10 a day. Here they might only make $10 a day. So all the money might be, this is just the stuff that you would expect from something that's as corrupt as something like this. And a lot of questions were asked because this guy Marfugel said it's like he did a face palm. He's like, I always wondered when I was downtown, I always wondered why at 3 o'clock in the morning there were guys sitting in, there'd always be a guy sitting in a suit smoking a cigarette watching the parlor, like all the time. If you go to his channel and you listen to some of his live streams, he talks about it, and he'll probably do a presentation in the future about it. And he's like, well, they also run restaurants, and this might be just a joke, might be, I think conjecture is the proper word, but we always think we're eating cat and dog when you go to the cheap Chinese places. Maybe you're eating runaway prostitutes that try and escape this slavery, and then they just, what better way to get rid of a body than to serve it in some General Tso's, you know what I'm saying? That's the type of corruption, and if you notice, I don't entertain all the bipartisanship that goes on in America. There are certain issues where, for example, firearms, I tell the liberals to go take a hike any day of the week on that argument. But then again, if there was a civil war, it wouldn't be liberals versus conservatives. It'd be gun owners versus non-gun owners in a Second Amendment based civil war. I don't stick to but all I have to say to the conservatives is, who are in favor of building the wall, and they want to kick the Mexicans out, and this, that, and the third. It's like, so worried about the Mexicans. Yes, there's bad stuff that happens. There used to be a website that posted all the cartel videos. It's some nasty stuff. Some nasty stuff, the things that they do to people with knives and skinning people alive, taking their limbs off, pulling out organs while people are alive, the way they kill them. It's brutal. The violence that goes on in the streets. People drive around in like in an Escalade, and they'll take the back seats out, and they'll put a 50 cal mounted inside of the thing with tints on it, so they can drive around and move their drugs. And if somebody tries to steal them, if the cops run up on them, the cops, and there's lots of videos out there too, they have to bring out helicopters with helicopter guns to kill criminals, and it's crazy. But a lot of these conservatives, they're so hell bent on building the wall. When it's only the tip of the iceberg, and there's plenty of other countries and nationalities, and I'm not a xenophobe and I'm not anti-immigration. It's just, wake up, open your eyes. And last episode I also touched on a little bit of cinematography, and I'm a little late doing this one. No, cinematography is after. Now, there was recently flooding in the Midwest, and this is a video by Mike Morales, who does weather forecasts, and he's live right now. A dam blew in Nebraska. So we're going to start seeing this as we head into the grand solar minimum. Weather patterns change. We get hit with more rainfall. If the sea level rises a little bit, I'm not talking about the sea level rise that's going to displace like half of the world and put New York City underwater. I'm just talking a little bit of sea level rise. Think about it in terms of car traffic, right? If one intersection gets bogged down, all the other intersections get bogged down. If the sea level rises a little bit, all the other rivers, all the other lakes, all the other dams, all the other flood plains, they're going to fill up faster and more often. And so here we have some footage.
All right, so here's a view of the highway, man. Look at that. It looks like an ocean. So here is how bad the flooding actually is. It's water as far as you can see. I mean, it is crazy. So, yeah, the extent of this flooding downstream. I'm back in Missouri, and yeah, really bad out here. So I wonder, hopefully they got all them people rescued down there. You can just see the roofs on some of them houses. Check it out, the cell phone tower is still working. You see the lights blinking at the top.
Yeah, they're gonna fry all of our brains.
Whatever that place is back there is completely underwater.
So
we're a long ways from the river now. Like that bluff way over there, that's where the river is.
So people could go out into the
definitely see
once a month and take a selfie.
Just how bad this is.
Claim to be nature lovers.
Holy crap.
On the gram. But yeah. Oh, Florida Maquis. That's another great channel. He does excellent work on Venezuela, which I probably should cover, in my own opinion. But it would just be me going through Florida Maquis channels and nitpicking everything that he said. Nobody does it better. Don't listen to any mainstream news, not Fox, not CNN. It's Hegelian dialectic. They choose opposing views and they try and divide the people. Florida Maquis has it down. He's got it. But like I said, in the last episode, the news just keeps coming and coming and coming, and it does, because as I think, I'm like, okay, let me cover the grand solar minimum, and then the next episode, I got a little tidbit here, and a dam blew. And I don't know if you guys remember the dam up in California that almost blew 2 years ago. It's going to keep happening. Hold on. Now, the importance of this right here is wheat. We make our bread with wheat. And there's two types of wheats, winter wheat and spring wheat. Now, spring wheat is planted April through May. It is now March 21st. Depending on how long these floods stay. Actually, I mean, they can't run the machines in areas that are absolutely saturated with water. The white man farming methods with huge machines that weigh a few tons.
Really bad out here.
But spring wheat is planted April through May. Harvesting occurs August to September. So it's safe to say that we still have this spring wheat coming. But now there's also winter wheat, where the planting occurs August through October, and it stays dormant throughout the winter. And spring is when it buds, and that's when they harvest the wheat and it's ready perfectly. It's safe to say that wheat is dead. Wherever there's flooding like this, say goodbye to the wheat. And that's just one of the contributing factors to food scarcity, which is going to be a major issue in the future. The wheat rots, the wheat molds. That's it. That's it. Now, like I said, we'll get to cinematography. A gray state. Okay. Well, first, let's watch this. It hit theaters March 15th, I believe. Maybe sooner. I can't remember. Like I said, I'm a little late on this one. This is called Captive State.
I want a lawyer. Those days are gone.
And it's very sensation. It's called sensationalism. It's
Baby brother.
in some aspects, it's going to be more scary in real life, but in other aspects, this is just meant to scare you. But if you look,
Hello, Gabriel.
thick device, which is some type of mark of the beast,
I want a lawyer.
portable
You and I
slavery
both know
device.
those days are
They don't
gone.
need to put you in prison. They don't need to put you in a concentration
You have a
camp.
choice to make.
They just build a wall along the southern border and
Work
put
for me.
devices on you. You're
Or
not
line
going to
up
flee
like your
north
father.
because winter's coming. They've got drones, they've got the tech, it's all out there. And we'll talk about 5G
We don't
in
have
another
much time.
episode.
Before first contact, we were fighting amongst
The
ourselves.
way it can track
We
you.
needed the legislators to show us a better way.
They're protecting us from anarchy.
Tell our friends down below they got our full operational support.
Harmony, peace. It's a lie. They gonna take everything.
What do you want me to do?
Long as we fight back, we got a chance.
Big money, playboy, your time's up.
We're facing a full-blown insurgency known as Phoenix.
Put your hand up.
The networks communicate. They're planning something big.
Made you look.
The team goes tonight.
You ready? No one gets taken alive.
Hello, Gabriel. You have a job to do.
I've got a plan.
I have faith in you.
Light a match. Ignite a war.
I can take the risk. Get back to the way that things used to be.
It's like I said, those days are gone.
Time's up.
There's an asteroid headed towards us. But who knows? NASA's all lies. So that was a captive state. Captive state. I'm not going to see it. I don't go to movie theaters. I don't pay for movie theaters. I steal all my movies. There are some artists that I will pay for to keep making music, but nah, the movies. They never tell the full truth. And things like this happen. So a gray state, this is why I'm connecting these two. So the person who was making the movie Gray State is named Eric Nelson. There's a trailer for it, but the movie was not completed. He was making a movie about everything that we're talking about with the FEMA camps and the lockdowns and the collapse of the economy, and he was making this movie. Oh, it was years ago. I can't remember how long it was. It was nearly done. So, okay, no, this is just the documentary. The film was never completed. That's how much they feared it so much. I guess this is Eric Nelson here. No. Werner Herzog was one of the people. Anyways, I forget when Gray State was created, but here's what happened. Here's why it stopped. He's an Iraq war vet. Why am I saying Eric Nelson? David Crowley. He's an Iraq war vet and an aspiring filmmaker named David Crowley. The trailer was spread over the internet and people loved it. However, as this article states, in the midst of production, Crowley and his wife and baby daughter were found murdered in their home with Allahu Akbar written in blood on the wall. Police said that it was Crowley who committed the murder-suicides. I don't know if you heard that, but moving on. Here's the trailer, and you'll see why. I mean, it's low budget. You'll see.
things were.
Not the end of every enemy of the state.
And then I woke up here.
Enemy of the state. Sounds like a Trump target to me. Yeah. FEMA. Walmart. Alright. So what do you do, huh? Well, let me go back over Brexit. Brexit. Great Britain's exit from the European Union. In March 29th, 2017, they invoked Article 50. Which set the grounds for Great Britain to leave the European Union. It gave them 2 years' time. That's March 29th, 2019. 7 days from now. In an hour. Well, no, it would be 11 p.m. UK time, whenever that is. It's somewhere around now. I'm not sure. Anyways, 7 to 8 days from now. However, in the news recently, they were given an extension until, I believe the date is May 11th. Don't quote me on that one. Now, one thing to really look at is the voting numbers. Okay, here. January 15th, 2019, 432 to 202, the largest parliamentary defeat for a sitting UK government. Now, there was a second vote on the 12th of March, which was voted against 391 to 242. So the margins are lessening. They're closing in. That does not mean that sentiment is going to reverse. And because of the disagreements, it looks like the world is headed for a hard exit, a hard Brexit, which is an immediate withdrawal, as opposed to a soft Brexit, which is an incremental withdrawal. Here, hard and soft. A hard Brexit will affect the world much greater. Now, I believe it's May. I might have it right here. I believe it's May 11th. Okay. Postponing beyond March 29th. I guess they just decided to postpone it and they haven't set a date yet. So it's either the 22nd of May or the 12th of April. Well, I guess we'll figure out in the next few days. Like I said, it's confusing even for somebody who follows it. It even catches one of the financial caster that I listen to, who I'll introduce to you. This podcast was even kind of taken off guard by certain things from time to time. It happens. And what I'm talking about is Basel III. Now, Basel III, well, the Basel Accords were developed after the financial crisis of 2007-2008. That was the mortgage-backed security crisis. The housing market in the United States started to crash. Let me see if I can get this. Republican representative. Oh, what is his name? It's like Jaworskis or something. I'm only going to take a minute to see if I can find this. It was on C-SPAN, I believe. Oh, I should know this. Let me see if I can type in some other names. Anyways, I figure I'd give it to you straight from the the messenger's mouth instead of myself. $21 trillion was about to be pulled out of the United States markets, and if the United States liquefied all of its assets, it could only come up with $5 trillion. So basically, on that day, the United States was about to go bankrupt, and everything was going to stop. The music was going to stop. Instead, the taxpayers bailed out the private banks, public banks. I don't know. We bailed out the banks. We paid the banks to stay in business. Okay, and because of that, the Basel Accords, right here. Now, it says that implementation of Basel III was kicked up to the 1st of January 2022. But there is an important date coming up, which is the 31st of March 2019. And one of these accords is moving gold from a Tier 3 asset to a Tier 1 asset, which means there's no risk. Duh, it's gold, dummies. The only risk in gold is if you buy paper contracts and you don't have the gold in your hands. You want to own the physical gold. If you don't own the physical gold, you don't own anything. Just like a US dollar. Even though you have a paper dollar, and I might have one in front of me so I can read. Yes, I do. It says, it used to say on the dollars, redeemable in gold, blah, 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 blah. Now it says, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So it ain't, it's nothing. It's not worth anything. It's not worth anything. I imagine, it doesn't even, it's not even good for starting fires if you get stuck in, if your car breaks down on the side of the road. It's not even good for that. It doesn't burn. Now, March 31st, India, the country of India, will have all of its, and here's the mumbo jumbo they go over, but India will have all of its banks, all of its procedures, standards, will be Basel III compliant. Basically, they're switching over to gold. It's no longer a paper asset. Now, what I talk about in paper assets is there's something called derivatives, and the big, it's what we see on the stock markets. It's how they suppress the price of gold and silver. Okay? Gold and silver right now is suppressed. If they released the suppression, there's no telling how high it would go. This isn't even under the circumstances of hyperinflation, when currency becomes worthless and things like gold and silver become worth millions. This is just if the derivative bubble were to blow. Because basically what a derivative is it's a paper contract. And instead of moving the silver and the gold every single time they wanted to trade, they figured out they could just write an IOU between the banks. And there's something like, they trade like half of all the known silver in the world is traded on a day-to-day basis in paper contracts. It's ridiculous. I don't know the actual figures, but it's ridiculous. I've heard it so many times I should remember, but it's so ridiculous that I don't even let it take space in my brain. Now, back to the derivatives. What it is it's somebody, if I were to get onto the stock exchange and I wanted to purchase a paper contract for 1 ounce of silver, I go on, I give them my $20 after the spot prices and all this, that, and the third. It'd probably come out to like $18. I don't know, to be honest. And they would just give me a digital number on a digital account and say, here you go, you've got the silver, we've got it in our vault, and yeah, we'll keep it safe for you. But they're lending that 1 ounce of silver that they lent to me, they're lending to how many other people? 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. And they use this as a mechanism to suppress the price. So when silver starts to run away, they just trade it down by trading it for cheaper until the price drops. And they've done this countless times. So many times it's not even funny. Because if you check the silver and gold charts, it doesn't run on supply and demand. It doesn't run on news. They manipulate it all. They manipulate everything. It's totally manipulated. Silver and gold, they have industrial uses. There's reasons why they manipulate. First and foremost is they're not ready to get rid of fiat. Well, as you can see, they're getting ready, but they're not completely ready to get rid of fiat and have a huge transfer of wealth. But also, a lot of technology is built, a lot of bombs, a lot of cell phones, and all this, that, and the third. It's all built using silver and gold. So they want to keep the price down for now. And when they're ready, they're going to let the price run away. And they're going to buy up all the stuff that they want. And then they're going to bring the price back down again. And then pick up the ball where we left off. Except they're going to have, you know, they're going to double all of their assets. And the people of the world are going to lose half of their assets. Arbitrary numbers, but it's probably going to be worse. Now, this is the channel that I just absolutely love. ITM Trading, Lynette Zang, she's a genius. As you can see, I try and watch as many videos as I can. She's brilliant. So as I'm talking about paper contracts and Basel III coming up and Brexit coming up, we have gold, which was moving upwards, just shot back down below 1,300. I'm not sure what it's at today. I don't check it on a day-to-day because it's not a trade for me. It's an investment. Dabu 7 reported that somebody got rid of their paper contracts. Now, why would somebody, if they realized that banks around the world were moving from paper assets to actual physical gold, and it was all going to be counted in. Now, why would somebody get rid of their paper contracts if the price is, as a result of Basel III, the price isn't going to jump to $2,000 or $3,000. It might jump $100. But if you think $1 billion in gold, that's got to be 100,000 ounces, 10,000 ounces of gold. Why would somebody get rid of it if they knew it was going to go up by $100 in the future? Because what they're scared of is the derivative bubble popping. And if the derivative bubble pops, that might unravel everything in the world. And people are getting rid of all this fake gold, fake silver, the fake metals, the fakes, the papers, the derivatives. Somebody's dropping it. And this is one of the methods that they use. So we have actual instances of manipulation right here. The secrets of gold. This guy, Bix Weir, he's originally a gold and a silver bug. That's people who believe that silver and gold are sound money and paper money is not. He opened my eyes. He's the one who opened my eyes to cryptos, believe it or not. I was a gold and silver bug. I like to listen to the news about the derivatives and this, that, and the third, thinking that every day was going to be the day that I would wake up and the derivative bubble would be bursted, and I'd retire on that day because I'd take the silver that I had stashed underneath my mattress and I'd take it to the bank and I'd go buy all my land and my houses and my cars and my Lambos and all that stuff. I don't want a Lambo. I'm just... That's how much money that is potentially there. And this guy, Bix Weir, he's got a YouTube channel and a website, Road to Ruta. Root A is the first, I believe it was the first variable in computer programming, and the person who wrote, who's Alan Greenspan, who Bix Weir says is Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of cryptocurrency, is also the person who invented these methods to rig the markets. He's got a lot of tidbits of information. If you're not privy to the information, it could help. It could be interesting. And one thing that he opened my eyes to, which is a little bit of conspiracy, but if you know anything about the history of the world, even just a little bit, you might understand how all this is possible. Now here we have, this is actually, I believe this is a New York Times, yeah, New York Times episode. Tale of Vast Riches, blah, 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 blah. Gold in the Grand Canyon. Well, I mean, there's gold everywhere around the Grand Canyon, and this would be the ideal place to look for gold. However, they were not just finding gold in the rivers, they were finding gold in the canyons themselves. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because stack gold and stack silver. If the governments have a hidden stash of gold right here, from right here, then gold will not be as worth as much as it is. But silver could skyrocket. Plus, silver is easier to accumulate. At 15, 17, no more than $20 an ounce, just about everybody in America can afford $20 a week. I'm sure you can come up with something to sacrifice, and you could go out and you could purchase 1 ounce of silver per week. Just 1 ounce. That's 50 ounces a year. You can take Christmas and another holiday off if you'd like. But for my hardcore stackers, there's some hardcore stackers out there, guys. And they're buying up all the silver because they know what it's like. They know what it's worth. And like I said, it's somewhat conspiratorial, but there's evidence that there just might be pyramids in the Grand Canyon. Now, for some of you who don't know, you can't go into the Grand Canyon. You can go around the rim, you can go to a couple sites, but you can't go to the Grand Canyon. And geologists and just people who are interested in the Grand Canyon see formations in the rocks that just, water didn't do that. Water doesn't cut at 45-degree angles like this. See that 45-degree angle on all sides? Water doesn't always, you know. And they're saying that there's pyramids in the Grand Canyons. That the Grand Canyons were once a metropolis. That the canyons are aligned, just like the pyramids of Giza, but aligned to constellations. And there was so much gold down there, you would have no idea. And that's why they closed it off, and that's one of the reasons why they built Area 51, well, a couple hundred miles away, to patrol it. If you were to try and explore the Grand Canyon, you will get arrested by a federal agency. Not park rangers, federal agencies. Also, I mean, maybe I'll cover this at another time. I'll debunk the, what is it, the Earth, the magnetic pole reversal. I'll debunk that, and we'll talk about how the Grand Canyon came to be covered, why we can't just fly a drone or a helicopter over the Grand Canyon and see all these structures clearly, why it's all sandy. Maybe I'll do that next time. So that's just, we're going to continue with the introduction to gold, and we're going to come to a quote. When there is blood in the streets by land. Now, just a little pop culture. If you guys are aware of these things, you'll catch them in pop culture. This was in one of the episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, when Strand was meeting with Daniel Salazar at the bar, and they were talking and said, "Oh, who are you? I came down here to purchase real estate." And they're like, "Oh, in this market?" And he says, "When there's blood in the streets, buy land." And the other person replies, "Baron Rothschild, after the Battle of Waterloo." Rothschild, there's that banker name, the richest family on planet Earth. What they're saying is, in times of war, times of chaos, buy land. That's the time to buy. Not when things are good, when things are bad. And so, this is why we're positioning ourselves the way that we are. This is the way to win. And here's the reason, one of the reasons why I'm purchasing silver instead of gold. Many people know the American Revolution as being an issue over taxation without representation mainly. But is there any surprise that we've been lied to by the public schools? The war was fought under the reign of King George III. That's who fought the physical war. The person who fought the economic war was his father, King George II. Now, as you can see, King George died in 1760. I don't know when he gave up his reign. Let's see. Anyways, it's not important. One of the main causes, one of the main causes of the revolution was King George demanding silver for payment instead of paper. He didn't want paper. He wanted silver. And as the colonies ran out of silver, see, back in the days, silver was good anywhere. But colonial paper, it wasn't. It was only good in the colonies. So as they ran out of silver, they were running out of trade options. And they were becoming slaves. Had nothing to do with taxation of representation, without representation. After the revolution was fought and they declared independence, there was plenty of arguments over taxes. And there was almost a second revolution under George Washington over taxes. But the initial cause was the silver. It is economic freedom. It's a representation of labor. It costs human hours and human resources to pull silver and gold out of the ground. And there's a finite amount of it. How much resource does it cost to print out money? And that's why we're broke. Not because of taxes. That's why minimum wage does not pay for a minimum lifestyle. It barely does. Barely. Because gold and silver are a representation of labor. And in 1933, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, took America off the gold standard. Meaning, we started printing paper currency that was not backed in gold. Now, the reason for paper currency is people aren't going to carry around gold everywhere that they go and use it to trade. It's not very practical. Paper currency is. However, paper currency not backed by gold is even less practical. And we were further led into a trap. Well, I don't want to say led into a trap, but here was and there's the first article preparing for the collapse of the petrodollar system. Dollars for oil, petrocurrency, 1971. I believe it was Nixon. Yes. President Nixon canceled the fixed rate convertibility of US dollars to gold in 1971. The formation of OPEC, okay, made it so that in order for anybody in the world to purchase oil, for anybody in the world to purchase oil, they first have to purchase the US dollar. Okay, this created artificial demand. This was kept America from collapsing ever since the 70s. Because we have a terrible economy, terrible banking system, but we've been holding the world hostage. And it's coming to an end because the Chinese-backed yuan is backed by gold. Iran and Venezuela, they don't want dollars. They want gold, and they're trading in gold. It's happening. The world, the BRICS nations, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, here's India again, China, and South Africa. They're all moving over to gold, and some of them are moving over to cryptocurrency, which is what we're going to get into next. Because India is going cashless, okay? And following that will be the microchip. The banks will have gold, so that Lynette Zang was talking about a company like Overstock.com purchasing gold because they know that when everything crashes, they're going to want to pay their employees. Do as the rich do. And why do we hold gold? Here's this video right here. This is Lynette Zang. This is the person who runs, Eric Griffin, who runs ITM Trading. And this is going to take 5 minutes. She crunches all the numbers for the way that gold not only holds its value in a hyperinflationary event, but it will increase in value. And we use a modern day example such as Venezuela. But she also says later on in this video that the commercial real estate in Japan, I think it was in 2008, crashed by 95%. 95%. That's $1 million property, $1 million commercial property going for $50,000. However, their paper currency wasn't worth anything. Gold and silver was. And that's why we buy gold and silver. So that when things do crash, you can convert the gold and silver into money generating properties and businesses, or you can just buy your house and pursue your passions in life. Find out who you really are, what you want to do, what you're here on this earth for. Especially if you have children and you don't want to work 60 hours a week to keep your child outside of an area that's, you know, riddled with drugs and murder. Although there's drugs everywhere these days. But give this one a listen. It's 5 minutes, and then I'll finish up with some crypto talk because, in my opinion, gold and silver is not going to be, it's not going to stay pertinent. It's going to be a quick, it's going to be like a layover flight. You're not going to be there for long. The final destination is the cashless currency with the microchips. Now, you can own cryptocurrency and not take a microchip, but the people who are unprepared, the people who don't purchase these cryptos and these golds and silvers, the only way they're going to get cryptocurrency is by taking the microchip. And they're going to have something called universal basic income, where everybody in the world will be given an allowance, and maybe I'll cover that in the future. But here's Lynette Zang.
We promised we were going to answer that one this week, so Lynette had done a little bit of research, got some charts and graphs together for you, so we're going to just let her go with it.
Yeah. And so, Megan, are they up yet? Are the...
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to do another little comparison just for people to get an idea on whether or not gold holds purchasing power during these transitions. And there's some interesting things in here. Okay. So number one, of course, we can see a dozen eggs in 2015, or not a dozen, I'm sorry, 30 eggs in 2015 was 1,180 bolivars. By March of 2017, that was up to 9,600 bolivars.
So in two years.
In 2 years, okay? Now, this picks up from January of 17, so bolivars to the price of eggs, and you can see that it went up to 247,000 bolivars. But I checked this morning, and as of this morning, it's roughly 837,842 bolivars for 30 eggs. Now, let's translate that into what happened to gold. Remember, the first time that I noticed it was March 22nd, and then I brought that out to everybody's attention. So you can see this is the big reset. This is where we are right now. So back then, now here's what's interesting. The official price of gold prior to the reset was roughly 7,700 bolivars to 1 ounce of gold. Okay, now with eggs, a cost of 30 at 9,600 bolivars, that means that you wouldn't even be able to buy that whole flat if we went by the official price. But the market price is different than the official price, and fortunately I was capturing that data. So at that same time that the official government price was 7,700, the market price was 124 million bolivars for 1 ounce of gold. So you could have actually bought almost 13,000, 30 flats of or eggs, 30 in a flat at that time with 1 ounce of gold. Now at the moment,
wait, did you just say you could have bought 12,923 flats of eggs?
Yes.
So
each one of their 30 eggs in a flat, and that was 9,600 bolivars.
Okay, so it was 90. Well, what's this number here? How many?
That's
eggs?
how many eggs,
Total
right?
Eggs.
Well, no, you'd have to multiply that by 30.
That 12,923.
Correct.
Okay.
That's a flat. Okay. And as of today, the official price, so they reset it, and you can see how much it jumped, you know, overnight. Boom. Oops, come on. Overnight. Boom. Well, this is that right there. That's that big jump that we see in this chart. Okay? We see it in this one, but that's where it is, right? Where it's pointing to, right there. This is where it is today. So this is from February 7th, official price of gold to the bolivar, to where we are today, which is 296, roughly 296 million bolivars for 1 ounce of gold. And with the price of the eggs for, this is the 30 of them, 837,843 bolivars for that same flat that just not a year ago cost 9,600. You could get, of those 30 eggs per flat, over almost 31,000. So definitely gold holds its purchasing power through the reset. It even expands it. But I did think that was interesting. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, I had captured the same thing with silver at the time of the reset. And so you can definitely see there was a nice jump in silver as well, officially. But I didn't have the market price of silver at that time. So I couldn't actually make that comparison like I was able to do with the gold. But what we do know, and you can see this is where that jumped, is that the gold, because that is the metal against which a reset is accomplished, definitely went up more. It did initially and subsequently, though I didn't run those numbers, I'm sorry. But you can still see that pattern, and that's what I wanted you to see. And to answer Tony's question, then yes, gold maintained your purchasing power and then some. It presented opportunities, which is also part of what we're looking at in the strategy. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So as you can see, you can protect yourself from hyperinflationary events with gold and silver. And what she just showed you was Venezuela. Now that's a small market compared to the United States. Remember the petrodollar. United States is going to be the bubble of all bubbles, the hyperinflationary event of all hyperinflationary events. Higher risk, higher reward. Start stacking. I'm not going to have any despair. Because later on in the episode, she also talks about what they call overt confiscation, where the government might tell you that you're not allowed to have gold and silver in amounts higher than this, that, or the third. And so that might limit the amount of gold and silver that a person can unload at a given time or in certain intervals. So if a person has 1,000 ounces of gold and real estate market crashes by 90%, they can't go in and purchase 20 houses for their whole family. They might only be able to purchase 1 or 2 houses. And then people might say, yeah, well, they can give the gold out. Listen, get your own gold, get your own silver. It's BYOB. Bring your own bullion. And she also talks about collector's coins are better than bullion. Get whatever you can. Even jewelry is okay. People walking around with gold and jewelry, or people that have a lot of gold and silver jewelry at home from their, maybe from family members like grandparents, great-great-grandparents, or they just collected gold jewelry throughout their life, that will be worth something as well. Now, have a little bit of gold, have a little bit of silver. But one thing that is inevitable is this right here. And that's cryptocurrencies. It is inevitable. And I'm not giving advice. This is not my advice. This is just my passion for cryptocurrencies. This is not investment advice. So, yes, everything is in the red. Negative percents. That happens day to day. It fluctuates. But one thing, one thing to look at, without a doubt, is the list of banks, the XRP, the list of banks and, I'm going to butcher this words, maybe not, the list of banks and corporations that XRP has made deals with. XRP is Ripple, okay? If you are a cryptocurrency advocate, there's a sentiment among the community which is to hate Ripple, and the reason being is because Ripple is centralized. Okay, look at this circulating supply. There's only this much Bitcoin, there's only this much Ethereum. Look how much Ripple there is, and it's all issued by a central company. And what I mean by central company, it's literally one person who made it all, or one board of people who made it all, one group. Another one that kind of mirrors that is XLM. Ripple is the banking version, and Stellar is a fork of Ripple. It's just a branch off of Ripple for the corporate version of it. And I'll talk about Stellar in a little bit. But the reason I'm talking about Ripple and Stellar is because all the banks around the world, the central banks that I'm talking about, are having problems with their derivatives. They're all making deals with Ripple. So when they stabilize things and they pay their debts off with gold, What's going to be next? The cashless society backed by Ripple and Stellar. That's my opinion. Pick up some Ripple, pick up some Stellar. I'd pick up Ripple before you pick up Stellar. But like I said, there's the list of banks. Now, I said that Ripple was centralized. And I said that other currencies weren't. Now, what I mean by centralized and not centralized. Oh no. Bonus points if you know who this is. I want to show you something. I'm going to mine some cryptocurrency. Okay. I run this program, as you can see, a whole bunch of computer code is going to start running across the screen. And you can look at all this stuff. Now, centralization versus decentralization. The banks we have now, the Federal Reserve, is centralized. What that means is the Fed can walk in and they can say, they can push a button or however many buttons they need to push, and they can print money. And now that money that you worked all day, all week for, that you worked for, that you earned. Some people studied rigorously. Some people went out in the field and sweat their butts off or froze their butts off and worked. Everybody, it's now worth less. Every day that the Fed goes in and prints more money because they're irresponsible and they have bills that they can't pay, every day, that money that you are working hard to, your effort doesn't get less when you put in the effort. You have to put in the effort, same amount of effort every day, and sometimes even more. But you're getting paid less. Even though the amount might be the same, you're getting paid less because your purchasing power is lowering. Now, decentralized currency, this is what cryptocurrency is, as long as it's not Ripple. Okay. Now, the way that, for example, I'm going to be mining Litecoin. That's a coin that I'm choosing to invest in. I like Litecoin. There's speculation that Litecoin, that Bitcoin is too slow, and so Bitcoin will be like gold, where it's going to be used as a store of value. So if you have a lot of money and you want to just hold on to it for generations, you keep it in Bitcoin. But Litecoin is going to be the coin that people transact with. For example, you can already go to Starbucks and purchase Litecoin, use Litecoin to make Starbucks transactions, and it's fast, and it's going to get faster. The more people adopt it, it's going to get faster. Now, the way it works, right? Visa is centralized. You take your credit card, you swipe it through a thing, and the entity Visa or MasterCard or American Express, they have to give you permission for that transaction. They can decline your credit card. Even if you have fine credit and you have plenty of credit, they can still decline it. They can say, oh, it's fraudulent, and then you got to get on the phone and you got to blah, 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 blah. Bitcoin is permissionless. Litecoin is permissionless. As long as you have the client or the private codes, whatever it is, it's like the password. You don't need anybody's permission to transact. Okay? And the way that this is done is right now by me doing this. Okay? My graphics card in my computer is running at full speed. Listen. Okay? It's running at full speed right now. And it's solving computer programs. If you've ever seen The Matrix, all the numbers and symbols running across the screen, yeah, it's solving those problems. Okay, let me show you. I'll show you what the block is. Let me get out of this real quick. It lags up the computer like crazy. Okay. So, it's getting faster than a few months ago. So, see this block height? This is every block. Every time a problem is solved, it moves on to the next block height. And right now they're solving problems every 2 minutes, every 2 minutes, every 3 minutes, every 3 minutes. And each block has a different number of transactions and a total number of Litecoin sent. And then there's this right here, which is fees. Okay? Now, fees go to the miners. Okay? And what I was doing was what's called mining. Okay? Just like you mine gold and it costs human hours, and they need tools, and they need energy, and it needs to be shipped to a store. My computer did all the mining for me, but it cost electricity. It cost this, it cost that. And fees trickle down. So I got 0.00000000001 Litecoin for that 5 minutes. Maybe more. I don't know. I'm just giving you an arbitrary number. But let's say that there's, I don't know, 50 million people around the world all contributing to this Litecoin. Now there are things like 51% attacks and all this, that, and the third, but for the most part, this stuff is unstoppable. Like, you can't, somebody can go in and they can hack, as we saw 2 months ago, Wells Fargo got hacked, or so-called. And there's always banks getting hacked and people can't get their money out. This stuff can't be hacked. It can be, but it's way more secure. Way, way more secure. Because you would have to shut down all the computers. See, I took part in making sure that the Litecoin network was processing transactions. And as a reward for that, I was given a little bit of Litecoin. So while I'm at work, working, my computer is also working for me. And it's mining Litecoin. And if my computer wasn't in my room, I'd have it on while I was sleeping in another room, and I could do it 24/7. And there's people who set up, you know, mining warehouses, mining rigs. You see? Look at this. It's just room after room after room of graphics cards, basically computers with all the extra stuff taken out, and it's just a graphics card and just running 24/7. People are getting absolutely rich. Okay. And so I showed you what mining was. I told you what decentralization was. Now I'll show you, for example, some of the things that there are. Now, this is called Neo. This is a favorite in China. I only have 16 of them. But it generates what's called gas. And gas is what the Ethereum network runs on. Ethereum is another coin that I recommend you looking into. But this is just for holding Neo. I'm generating money. It's giving me gas. And I can claim this gas and I can use this gas. Okay. Another one is XLM, which is called Stellar. And this is proof of work. Mining is proof of work. This is called proof of stake. And proof of stake gives me every week, it gives me 0.02% of my balance. So this is what I've got, which isn't much. But every week I'm getting an additional 0.25 XLM. This is proof of work. This is called staking, POS, and this is passive income. So let's just say that XLM goes to $1,000. Every week I'll be making $250 just for having Stellar, just for having it. Proof of stake. And this is why I'm saying there's lots and lots of opportunities to secure your future, and you'll have financial freedom. You know, if you invest in this and you go about it the right way, and you keep your private keys and you keep it off of exchanges, and you back up your information and you don't lose it, and you don't let hackers get your information by putting it out there and doing dumb stuff, you will see financial freedom. And the last thing I just want to touch on real quick, this is one coin that I looked into, hemp coin. This is also a proof of work coin, as you can see. I was recently given 2 of them. Oh. Yeah. It's random. I've gotten as much as 80 in the beginning. I have 10,000 of them. Now, there was something was called a master node. And master nodes, as it started out, master nodes were going to be 20,000 coins. It's like a penny each, maybe less, right now. So master nodes were going to be 10,000 coins, and then they jumped it to 20,000 coins, and then they jumped it to 50,000 coins. I'm no longer interested in hemp coin, but the reason why I was interested in hemp coin, well, first of all, cryptocurrency is what's called the democratization of money. We don't, there's no kings of money anymore, unless we're talking about Ripple. But, for example, whichever currency on this list, we'll go back to that. Whichever currency on this list that people decide is the best currency to use, whether it's the fastest or the most secure or the most whatever, has the best purpose, that's the one that's going to be the most expensive. It's a popularity contest, but it's in the form of money. So you're not stuck with the dollar. You're stuck, if you're smart, you know which currencies to invest in, and therefore the smartest people will make the most money. It's the democratization of money. And what I mean by that is, here's hemp coin. Now, hemp coin, the reason why I invested in hemp coin first and foremost is because the hemp industry is coming back. Now, I'm in America, so I'm centered primarily around American economics. Hemp is coming back. Not only that, but one of the main reasons for this coin was also revolving around THC. Now, federally in America, THC is illegal, but in certain states it is legal. Now, the dispensaries, for example, in California, they've been losing their bank accounts because banks don't want to do business with someone who is deemed as a federal criminal. So these banks, these dispensaries have been having to deal only in cash. They can't do credit. They can't have bank accounts. Lots of cash. They've had safes. There's lots of robberies. They have to move cash around. If you have multiple businesses, that becomes, it's literally a drug. If you've watched any TV series or show or movie with drug dealers moving money, that's literally what they go through. There's robberies. They're armed. There's private Brinks truck companies and Garda companies that move the money for them, and they're constantly getting robbed. So here's the solution. They don't need permission to do business with hemp coin. They don't need armored guards, because people can't steal this unless they have the private keys. It's digital. However, I'm moving away from it. I lost faith in the coin, but just to show you that if everybody in the world thought that hemp coin was the fastest, most secure, smartest coin, and this would be the most expensive coin. And that's what I mean about the democratization of money. It's also banking the unbanked, because you don't need a bank for this. You just need a cell phone. And that's it. I've been going for a long time, haven't I? Wow. Hitting some records here. Oh no, did it cut out? I hope not. That would be terrible. Anyways. Yeah. The reason I'm doing this is just to get one person to make the right moves. I know that I'm making the right moves. It'd be nice if there were some people around me who were taking this information, digesting it, and taking the path that I've blazed, the trail that I've blazed, and picking up where I've left off and teaching me things. But I'm doing this all on my own. I'm learning from other people on YouTube, so hopefully I can teach other people on YouTube. But I'm also doing this, if I send my friends videos that aren't me, they're not gonna watch it. They're not going to watch it unless it's a meme or it's a 10-second clip. People don't watch. People don't want to know this stuff. But maybe, if it's me speaking, maybe my friends will listen. But if not, you know, hey, they can go to a FEMA camp if they want. No sweat off my back. Because I know somewhere out there in the YouTube verse, somebody listening and they're saying, you know what, I'm going to listen to his advice. And maybe we will cross paths one day. Wouldn't that be crazy if somebody somewhere, even though I only have 115 subscribers, maybe 2 weeks from now I'll have 1,000. Who knows? But maybe somebody somewhere out there someday recognizes my voice and goes, hey, did you used to do stuff on YouTube? And I go, yes, I did. He's like, dude, I listened to your advice. Saved my life, saved my family. Just one person. Because think about it, I got all this news from somebody else. So if I can just pass it on to one person, then I've paid it forward. If I could pass it on to 2 people, I've multiplied. And then we win. We is just us. There's them and there's us. And right now they're winning. And if we don't do anything, they will win. And it's worse than any of your nightmares could imagine. But this brings me to guns. I'm not saying to let looters run in your house and steal everything and steal your family and steal your dog and, you know, run away with your dog. Maybe worse. What I am saying is it's not the solution. It's going to cause problems. You know, I'll give you an example. You're in your house. First of all, I want you to go to your roof. If you're in an apartment building, you don't even need to do this for practice, but go stand on your roof and do a 360-degree circle. Now, where I live, I can count at least 50 houses within earshot of me. Somebody runs in my house, bang, 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 right? They're a looter. I take a gun, I defend myself. Now, you have to understand that in this time of economic slowdown, people aren't going to be watching TV. Electricity is going to be expensive. People aren't going to have money. Things are going to be quieter. People aren't going to be driving around. The neighborhoods are going to get quiet. Bang, bang, bang. 10 people call the police. There was gunshots to the south, to the north, to the east. Well, eventually the police with the riot squads and the military and the UN and Russia, they will find where the guns came from, and they'll come in your house and they'll arrest you because there's a dead person in your house or a bleeding person in your house, and they'll be like, well, we need to process the crime scene, and they're going to take your guns away from you. This is what Donald Trump said. He said, take the guns first, due process second. That's an I quote. And I quote. And that's what he said, and this is what they're going to do. And then in order to get your guns, in order to get your rights, you're going to have to pay for it. Because in America, we're not free. You're only free if you got money. It costs money to buy